New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring. Hello again, dear ones. Rev Brz over here.
Rev Z right here.
And it's New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. This is our chance to get together every Tuesday and have a conversation about the emerging principles and paradigms of what's happening in New Thought, and often a chance to have a great conversation with somebody that, we're just falling in love with, to be honest. I'm just falling in love with with our guest today, because she's a dynamic speaker. And I'm going to read her whole bio as we go here, and let me pull up, bring Rev Candice Gee. I knew I was going to just do that, didn't I? Rev Candice Gee is an ordained minister, agape licensed spiritual practitioner, and a longtime truth student. She holds her ordination from Agape, the International Spiritual Center, and has been under the spiritual tutelage of Reverend Michael Bernard Beckwith, the founder of Agape, for over 28 years. She also holds ordination from Inspire Spiritual Community, an independent LGBTQ New Thought Spiritual Center in West Hollywood, California. During her 28 years in New Thought teachings, Reverend Candice has directed and co-directed several ministries within the spiritual communities that she has served. She's facilitated classes, including courses in prosperity, ethics, New Thought history, membership, practitioner, and ministerial studies. She currently serves as the assistant minister at the Enlightened Heart Spiritual Center in Orange County, California. We're going to learn all about that in a little while. And serves on the board of the International New Thought Alliance, which is where we recently met officially in Chicago. We're going to talk about that today, too. I'm excited for this conversation, folks. Reverend Candice comes out of the financial business management world with a focus on entertainment-based clients. For over 27 years, Candice has successfully maintained an accounting, business management practice and a professional reputation that speaks of honesty and integrity. She's the embodiment of the servant leader in both ministry and the financial world, touching countless lives. Candice also teaches in various business venues and has spoken and taught in spiritual centers around the country. She has a deep passion for justice, inclusivity, and action. I think that's especially why we're falling in love with you. She has a deep passion for justice, inclusivity, and action, and is wholly committed to a world that works for everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome Reverend Candice Gee. Hello, dear one. How are you?
I'm excellent. Happy to be with you today.
We're so happy that you're here as well. So here it is, folks. We're going to get right to the very first story before we get into the history and the background. Reverend Candice and I were at a conference recently in Chicago, and I had seen your name around the movement a little bit, which is just blindness on my part, because as we're going to learn, folks, this lady's been doing powerful work for a while now. And there you were, showing up on stage in a panel discussion, and we're not going to talk about that because that was just what it was, but you just struck me, and I was like, oh my God, we've got to get this woman on the network. We've got to get her on a show. We've got to sit down and talk, because I think you're holding a vision that's a lot like the vision we're holding around here. So Tell us a little bit, how did you find yourself in New Thought? How did you find yourself backstage at Agape and a part of that organization and all of that? Give us a little of your history, how you got started in all this.
Well, initially, my first introduction to Agape was through a woman that I knew that was an RSI minister, and she was doing a women's study group at her home, and she suggested to me, and this was in, actually 1993, she suggested that I go to this place called Agape and check it out, because there was this, as she said, this tiny little guy, which I laughed at, that was super powerful and dynamic, and that I would want to hear him. And so I did. I went, and the very first moment that I walked in the door there, I knew that I had found my home. It's pretty instant. And that was actually in 1994. I didn't go initially when she first suggested that. It was a few months later, I think at the end of February, beginning of March of 1994. And so I just never left. I was hungry for change in my life. As I'm sure many people can relate, I thought at the time that I was a wretch, undone, and all of that story that had gone on, that goes on in consciousness until we wake up. And so I was immediately moved by everything that I was hearing, and I wanted to get involved with classes immediately, which I did. I was enrolled by the fall. I couldn't get enough of it. I took everything that I could take, on my way to practitioner studies. And I participate all the time, because, that's part of being in community and being in spiritual study together. And it's been incredible to be in that community for as long as I have, because we're blessed there to have such a forward-thinking soul that Michael Beckwith is, the consciousness that he brings, his true dedication to living the call, and that is what he has taught all of us so well. And I was thinking earlier today about all of the people that have come through our doors over the years that have been so inspiring. People like Rosa Parks and C.T. Vivian and Dr. James Lawson and Yolanda King, so many people from the civil rights movement, and then all of the other, teachers and speakers and that he has brought in over the years, and that is how I got exposed to the bigger idea of New Thought. He would bring in people like Reverend Johnny Coleman, Dr. Mary Tompkin, different leaders in different bodies of New Thought, and I was interested in all of that and wanted to taste it all. So it's been incredible to be able to be in that community and to help it, and become what it is today, which is one of the brightest lights, I think. I am partial in all of New Thought, but when you have a great leader that is on the emerging edge of consciousness, that is willing to continue to up the ante, so to speak, you cannot help but go along with that and be inspired to do your own practice, your own spiritual work first and foremost, but to really step into leadership in an excellent way. So it's been a joy that I could not even really ever describe with words, on how much soul growth and growth in my own life that I've received as a result of being in that community together. And we really love one another there and mean it. And I think that's what draws people when they walk in. They feel that vibratory field that's been established, because, it's the real McCoy.
Well, I think, one of the things that you said, I think that's inspiring, is that, when you have a leader that is active, it becomes very compelling for those who are really in the game to try to do likewise. Now, you may not do it, but you're going to try to do it. And we know, everything that we continue to put effort towards, it improves or expands. And so the idea of having a leader that is beyond sermons and teaching, but is actually out on the forefront, as you said, on the emerging edge, is what we need more of in these days. Is that because in the information age, it has become, or it is becoming, or pick a word that fits. It is becoming this avenue where if I have enough information, because information does not necessarily mean knowledge, and knowledge does not necessarily mean wisdom. But if I have enough information or enough data points, I can make some things happen. But it's just that, data points, and we know the information is available. We can get it very easily. We now need to turn that information into knowledge, and then that knowledge is the wisdom. And that's why I see the future. And that's one thing I love about Dr. Beckwith is that's what he's advocating. How do we make this stuff happen in real life and then make it spread?
That's right. He's a practical teacher, It needs to be able to work in our lives. We need to be able to know that we know that we know. Because as he said, belief is just a placeholder for knowing. So we've got to practice. We have to do the work day in and day out, even when we don't want to, even when we're thrilled and enjoy. We've got to keep doing this practice so that we stay buoyed up, we stay in a higher field, because all of us are a much more potent and beneficial presence on the planet when we're in that. And so I love that about his example. He really has set the example. I could never say anything else. I mean, I don't know, I don't want to say hard. I don't know a more diligent spiritual leader. What he has done and what he is doing to continue to expand the teaching globally is, for me, nothing short of inspiring, miraculous, wonderful, marvelous, really all of those words, because it's making a difference. And, people tune in. We have members all over the globe that tune in every week at Agape. So his reach is far and wide, and it is inspiring for us, for me, to continue in my own work.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, and so let's talk about your work. Because yes, it's wonderful to praise our teachers and remind ourselves that whether they're still teaching or long past retirement, we've learned, and everything we talk about here is okay. Now, how do we take that out even a little bit further and a little bit further? So help us understand your current work and current ministry, Enlightened Heart Spiritual Center. And I know this is kind of an offshoot of a previous group, and we don't want to dig into the politics and all that kind of stuff of how this group came to be. What we're looking for is, share with us, what is this community becoming? What is Enlightened Heart Center? What are they becoming? And you get to be a part of that as a assistant, correct? Assistant minister. Yes.
Well, first of all, the senior minister and I both come out of Agape, Reverend Susan Shahani. So we're both Agape trained, been in that community for almost 30 years. It's a beautiful community, and it's been in existence officially as Enlightened Heart Spiritual Center for 5 years. Initially, we were meeting in person, then the pandemic hit, then it went to, online only, and we're in the process of becoming hybrid again. But it's a wonderful community, and we're just bringing points of light. I mean, that community is it's a small group. They're very diligent, though. They're very committed, and they've already, we've done powerful work already, in the community down in Orange County, like, for example, with CASA, with children that are in, foster care. There's been all kinds of projects, but I think what we're really bringing in our work there, the intention is to bring what it is, I know, right? You can't teach what you don't live. That's the bottom line. And so we're bringing you know, this oneness, this wholeness, this connection into what we do as a community that emanates from our individual lives. So, you know, if you have it in the individual, you're going to have it in the collective life of the church. And I think that, you know, being able to connect the dots, meaning the points of light, to show up and be consistent, you have to, you know, build things with consistency, with presence, with commitment, and to continue to be able to do that to reach people that are down in that area that either want community in the Orange County area, and a lot of people down there want the agape feel in that area, and even people who've never even heard of New Thought. You know, we're trying to reach everybody because it is important, and we have such a powerful, potent message in our teaching, and so I want everybody that ever hears me to know that there's something inside of them that's so much bigger than their circumstances, and that if I can do this, or you can do this, we all can do it, because we are all interconnected and interwoven together in the fabric of love and wholeness and joy. And I know that to the bones of me. So I'm excited about being involved in this community. And I'll just share, you know, as well, for myself, because I have been such a lifelong and will forever be an agape girl. I lovingly call myself a Beckwith child, or you could call me a Beckwith. I hope I'm an Beckwith adult now. But, you know, I've gone through my whole iteration of growth there. But during the pandemic, you know, that word pandemic, one morning I woke up and I had a dream about basketball. Now, I played basketball. I played basketball competitively for 42 years, so I'm a good basketball girl. And what came to me from that dream, and it was tied into spiritual practice as well, was instead of the word pandemic was can, because people that know me call me Can, short for Candice. Can bring it instead of can't pandemic, can bring it. And so when I sat with that, and I do a lot of writing around dreams, I realized that I was being asked to go out, to step out and do more than I had been doing previously. Because I had directed and co-directed several ministries, you know, at Agape throughout my time there, but it was time for me to do something more. So it was absolutely wonderful to say yes to that, you know, and to get to tell my teacher, Reverend Michael, Dr. Michael, what I was doing, and for him, you know, because he trained us to be leaders. He trained us all to be leaders. So we come to that. I mean, I know that I'm a leader, and I know that I've always been in the leadership, and that is my intention, to be an excellent leader. But it was still time for me to go to another iteration of myself. And so I said yes to that. And that's how I really wound up down here in Enlightened Heart. And, you know, I moved down here several years ago. I've been in Los Angeles, you know, forever. And so I'm in North Orange County now. So it was a good fit for me.
Excellent. Yeah, you know, one couple of things you brought to mind for me. You know, one, I'm looking forward to the day when we don't have to say New Thought, that we just have to be. And someone will ask the question, who are you? What are you? And then we could tell them. Because, you know, I was talking with a friend today, and their family, they're going on a mission trip and so forth. And you know, which is all great work. But I love the way we practice and the way we do intentional leading, so that we create this vortex where people want to know what do they know? What does Candice know? What is she doing behind the scenes that allows her to do ABC, whatever that is? And so I'm saying that in this new environment where people appear to be a little more cautious about things. They're a little more questioning about things. And when you produce the goods, there is no question. If there's this story about the rainmaker, and the guy comes into town and he's telling all these stories about the rain and what he can do. And one old gentleman in the back of the room says, look, just make it rain. We don't need any more stories about the rain. We need rain. So if you're a rainmaker and you can make it rain, do that. We'll call you whatever, but we need rain. And that's where we are now. People are thirsty. We need to be able to make it rain. And I love that idea of being a servant leader, of being someone who's willing to lead in the front and in the back and be able to create this vortex. You know, and the other thing you made me think of, I just did a thing on What the Bleep, right, which is coming up, and there's the scene in What the Bleep on the basketball court, and the young man asks, you know, I forget her name right now. Oh man, to take the shot, and she was off the court. And he said, "Oh no, you can't take a shot. You got to be on the court." And that's what we have to do. We can't be on the sideline anymore. We're going to play. We got to be on the court. And then he asked the question, how long has it been? How long has it been since you took a shot? Right? And that's what we are now. We have to take shots. We got the information. Let's take it. And I love what you're doing and how you expanding your ministry to do just that. Take the shot.
Thank you. That's what it's all about. You know, if you don't stick your toe in the water, you don't know what the temperature. I mean, you gotta, and that's the thing. You know, I've been on sidelines. You know, I can say that. We can all say that if we're honest with ourselves. And I've been in front leadership and back leadership. But for me, it's really about what I'm living. The rest of it, you know, wherever I need to show up, in other words, and I have always asked, and I try to stay diligent with this in my own practices, I want to be a humble servant leader. I don't have to be in the front and look at me, and I'm not one of those kind of people. I never have been, because when you live a certain way and when you walk in a certain vibration, or that is your deep desire, you don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. It takes care of itself. You just show up and do what is before you, and just let everything unfold. And so even in my journey, I've learned so much about, you know, all of the things that we've been taught from science, you know, the science of mind, even from scripture, about not judging by appearance, you know, not seeing the glass darkly, you know, but to stay in, you know, open and expanded, because you can't see the full picture all the time. And when I think about that, not being able to see the full picture, but staying in my knowing, it reminds me of and I just want to give you this one quote. It's one of my favorite quotes from Michael Bernard Beckwith. He says this, and it might not be exact, but it's very close. When you see more of what you don't see than what you do see, then what you do see, you won't see, and what you don't see, you will see. Mm-hmm. And he's speaking to the vision. He's speaking about living in the invisible, you know, where all of the infinite ideas are, and then living from that, you know, acting from that, being in the world from that. And so that's always been one of the guiding things for me that's really assisted me, is that there's so much, you know, there's so much good, and we're teeming with it. There's never a famine in infinite ideas or any of it, abundance, all of it. There's so much of it, but we have to be a space, a receiving place for it, so that it can come in and flourish in us and bloom, if you will, and then we can go out and take that out to the world, you know. But it has to start inside. So it's always an inside job, you know. But I'm about connection, and I'm about, you know, I am about creating and living in a world that works for every single person on the face of the earth.
And that's a mighty big vision. And it's that type of vision that I believe really, really calls us. What strikes me in this conversation is a quote that I've long been attracted to, let's say, and to paraphrase, the people will never care how much you know until they know how much you care. And for me, New Thought, people are never going to care how much we know about how it got here or how it works or what words to say or what words don't say, you know, what you can do if you say the wrong words. And what they care about is, are we able to demonstrate the principles we talk about? Are we able to live from the values that we talk about? Are we actually walking our talk? And can you see that in real ways? Can you see that not just in our own lives as far as, oh, they're doing better than they were last year, or oh, they did this now, but the where are we getting our hands dirty? Where are we out sharing this message, or lifting someone up, or running around collecting coats for a coat drive, or whatever it might be? How do we demonstrate and make this real? And I think we're all speaking to that directly here today. It's important.
And you know, one thing that struck me when you were talking, Rev Candice, is I had this image of a box of Lego pieces, right? And if you give that box of Lego to, 50 kids, 100 adults, didn't matter. Everybody is, now if you had a picture on the Lego box, they're going to try to make that picture. But if you give them a box of Legos without an image, and you allow them to be creative and just think up all of the different ways we can connect these long pieces, short pieces, whatever, inevitably we are going to get a myriad of creations that have all been made out of the same stuff, the same number, but what comes up is going to be totally different. And that is the beauty of this teaching, is that we have, all of us, the same key components of the universe to work with. But it's that vision, as you were talking about, it's that image, that calling within us that comes out. And so question I would ask is, if you had to pick one of the many things that I know you're doing that inspired you the most to keep moving forward in this teaching, what would that be?
I know that love is the only thing happening. It is really the only game in town. I know this. And I know that we are all connected. We're woven together. We're all made from that. Every human being on the face of it. And I know that. And that motivates me every day. And I ask the love every day, what do you want me to know today? What do you want me to share today? How do you want me to be today? And the thing that I love so much about love, I mean, I'm kind of in a love affair with love, so I'll just tell you, I have one of these roomy things going on all the time. That's me. But the one thing I know is that whenever I step out of that, if I step out of that, love will prune. Love prunes. and I love that about love. I love all of its verities, that it is it's my best friend, it's my comforter, it's the love of my being, it's everything to me, and it's also my corrector. And so I'm motivated, I'm inspired by that every day, because that doesn't run out. I can rely on that consistently every moment, with every breath that I take, and that's what I get to bring, and that is what compels me forward into to do even more, and to be able to be more. And it's very simple. I was sharing on Sunday. It's very simple. It's not always easy,
right?
Because we have to do some stuff, but it's simple.
Yeah. That that whole thing about. I was talking with my cousin the other day, and I told him, "Oh man, I got to go do my walk. I got this walking thing going on." And I was complaining about having to do it. And he said, well, we always know that the first step is the hardest one, but it's easy. And that's just stepping outside the door. And so, it's just that way in almost everything in life that I can think of. Even the things that are hard, they're very easy once we get in the motion of it. Once we get the power and presence of the divine behind us, that's moving us forward and allowing us to take the right steps and the right move and attract the right people. But we have to be willing, as the old saying goes, we have to be willing to take the first step. And I think one of our jobs as leaders, whether a spiritual leader, any type of leader, is to encourage people to take the first step. Because when you take that first step, it allows us to move beyond all of the ideas that are rolling around in our head of possibilities. But now we move into actuality. I move my foot. Okay, can I move the next one? Yes. And as I continue to move, the vista begins to open more and more because I'm in a different perspective place.
Yes.
And that is the thing that I think that is most needed now, no matter what we say we're teaching, no matter what we say we live in, is to be able to take the step moving, as you said, in love, so that we can have a place that works for everything, the plants, the animals, the humans, the planet itself, because we're all connected. There is no separation. And so that part is spot on, and I love that.
Thank you. And when you think about that first step, I mean, I can look at my own life, you can look at your life. What prevented me, before I came into the teaching, from taking the first step was fear, or the unknown. The thing is, one of the first things I learned, and when I came to the teaching, and I have diligently tried to follow this, and it's just part of kind of my personality as well, but when I am fearful of something, I look right at it. I've trained myself to look right at it and walk directly toward it, because I know it is not real. And of course, it's not. It's something that I've made up and projected. And I know that. So now it's like, you don't get the luxury of, and if I'm moving through something and it feels like there's a little pinch there, I get to look at what that really is. And that, again, we have to be awake. Our charge is to be awake and aware. We are consciousness unfolding. We are consciousness developing. We are consciousness growing. Our consciousness is always expanding. And so if I'm living in this place of desiring an expanded consciousness and being able to be a better delivery system,
right,
then if we just are willing, just be willing. And that's what we get to share with other people, just the willingness to take a first step and then not to be afraid, and that I'm here for you. We're here for one another so that we can keep each other, lifted, and that we can walk on our journey together. And one of the most beautiful things about being, I think, in spiritual community together, it's certainly for me, and it's always kept me motivated, is that I have gotten to watch others, my fellows, my fellow practitioners, my fellow ministers, the congregation grow, develop, and unfold, shine, and radiate. That has kept me inspired. Watching other people, they come in like this, and then all of a sudden, that's exciting. And we should, I think we all have the opportunity to pay attention to that if we want to, because it's really helped me a lot in my own walk.
Mm-hmm. And I love what you're sharing here, because we teach so often the move in the direction of your dreams, and yet we do have to also move in the direction of our fears. And we have to be willing to go there and say, okay, what is it about this? And how do I unravel that? And how do I heal this, so that it makes it even easier to move in the direction of our dreams? Folks, if you're wondering what you found yourself following here, this is New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. My co-host, Reverend Elzia, and I are here every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. Our guest today, Reverend Candice Gee, from the Enlightened Heart Spiritual Center, and so many other great projects. We're going to take a quick break, let everybody grab a quick glass of water, and come right back. Stay with us. We'll be back in just one more minute with New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. And I can't help it. We were talking about, our job is to encourage people to take one step. Here's your one step today, folks. Please like, comment, and subscribe. back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. So grateful that our special guest today, Reverend Candice Gee, is with us. And so, Reverend Candice, we met at INTA conference in Chicago just a few weeks back. Well, it seems like it was a few weeks. I think it's a little more than that, unfortunately. But it was such a great time, and it was a pretty historic event, actually, in a lot of ways. Help everybody out there understand, what did you find special about it, and how did that experience impact what you're doing in your ministry?
It was historical. I was so grateful to be a part of that, to serve on that board. When, to my knowledge, this is the first time that all of the spiritual heads of New Thought have been present together. So to see all of the different flavors, if you will, or bodies of New Thought be represented, and to have these panel discussions and keynotes were really incredible to me. It was very, very powerful, and I was just honored to be part of that, And what I think what was a surprise to me in the best way possible that I took back to my community is some of the more difficult discussions that were shared about what has been going on, in our country, and what has been going on in the world, in society, and the challenges and struggles that humanity finds itself in right now. And we all know what those are. And we see things splashed onto the news and whatever every single day that tries to suck our attention away from what we all know to be true and real. And so for that to be addressed, publicly in that setting meant everything to me, because it allowed me to realize, oh, we're really evolving. We're not doing this spiritual bypass, sugarcoating, not discussing what's really happening in the world. And that meant everything to me. And to be able to bring that back, to my own community and share that with them, because we are about, where the rubber meets the road. Because if you can't demonstrate it, if you can't live it, then we're just talking. We're just talking in the wind.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I was at the Celebrating Our Soul conference a few weeks back, and one of the charges, if you will, was how do we, as all the various New Thought movements, begin to create one container that allows us to reduce duplication, to increase our effectiveness and presence, and begin to sing with one voice, if you will. Not that we're not already, but to sing with one voice in how we approach, if nothing else, these teachings, how we activate them, how we live them, how we get involved and begin to make partnerships with other entities inside and outside of our own preview. And I think in the future, we spoke with Dr. Ruth Miller last week, who's a futurist, and if we could put on our futurist glasses and look forward, not even so far in the future, maybe 5 years, 10 years into the future, where do you see, or how do you see the concepts and ideas and practices that we teach under the umbrella of New Thought? How do you see them being displayed in another 5 to 10 years?
What a wonderful question. I think everything begins in consciousness. So I would say, through cooperation and collaboration, we have, an infinite opportunity to move out into a greater platform into the world if we're all unified. Okay. And that is why I thought the INTA was so amazing. And that's why, and I also streamed the Celebrating Our Soul conference, which was magnificent. We everyone has a right and a reason to be here first and foremost, right? And as we all step out and we drop the labels, like we can love our teachers, we can love the founders of our various, we can love them and ought to, because they've given us something rich. But we're at an evolutionary point now. Something is happening on the planet. We see fits, there's fits going on. If I say there's this old paradigm of stuff that's just dying off. It's like trying to, claw and grab on because it is dying. And so we have to stay the course with bringing our teaching out into the world. And what is our teaching? We are all related, okay, by the divine that has created us out of its image and likeness, right? So there's healing that needs to continue to take place in us individually and collectively, whatever, and to allow a healing message of unity, first and foremost, out into a greater expression. So we use, there's media to do this, but there's our walk is first and foremost, the walk that we individually make is first and foremost. And then how do we collaborate together better? How do we bring this out better? That's something I'm always asking myself. And it's why I have continually participated in a variety of different conferences or workshops or teachings that are given by different people in New Thought, because it is so important that we take this to another level now, because humanity needs it and is starving for it. And whether they know it is New Thought or not, which I like what you said earlier, Rev Z, about dropping that. I don't care if you can call it Hokey Pokey or Mickey Mouse, it doesn't matter. It's that are we getting out that we're all connected, that everybody deserves by divine birthright to be treated with dignity, value, and respect, to have the kind of life, the environment in our life that will allow us to overcome and come over, and to wake up and to stay awake and live, from a place of self-realization. That's what it's all about. Because if you've met that within yourself, you now know that it's not, that there's something so much bigger than you at a human or personality level. And that is what we have to offer humanity. And I yearn for people to wake up. I yearn for people to know that love is ultimate reality. I yearn for people to know, because all of this other stuff you see out there, fear, doubt, and worry, separation, otherness, pay, all of that is just garbage. It's just garbage. It's very detrimental to the soul, because it's not real. It's like eating junk food all the time. You can't get anywhere. You're not going to perform optimally in your life if you're just eating Twinkies all day long. You can't go out and run that marathon. There's some things that we have to do. So I hope I'm addressing it, but I think we have to rely on one another now. We have to drop the labels. We have to come together and say, we know the nexus, we know the roots of what we teach. Let's go do this together. And then I will support you in that. You will support me. We will support one another in the collaborative work that we're doing to raise consciousness.
I love it. Because we're so right on here. And that is a big part of what I saw in Chicago, was that there's a willingness to have these conversations. Now the space, the opportunity, I believe, becomes, now let's create the opportunities. Let's create the events. Let's create the commitment to say, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find out who else is speaking this language without my label, without trying to say, so we don't say, hey, I'm a New Thought minister. No, I'm not. I'm just Robert. But I'm here, and by my demonstration, I trust you are being inspired to wonder what it is that I've got to live this life this way, to be able to step out in this way. And this has been a great summer of coming together. I want to set that intention. We're keeping that going, not just INTA, not just celebrating our soul, not just ANTN later this month, but that there is an intention. And folks, New Thought Media Network's part of that. We've have been holding that intention to bring us all together and say, if we really are one, then how are we going to do this as one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and two things that came up from the dialogue you guys just shared is that, number one, if there's a fire that's burning down houses, trees, and harming, individuals, we don't need to necessarily call it the same thing, because we all know it's being destructive, and so we can call it whatever. What we need to rally around is not to get us to call it the same thing. We need to rally around, how do we put the thing out? How do we stop it from overly doing over damage, if you will? And there's something you said, Rev Candice, about about our different teachers. Having been a teacher in a professional setting, and being a teacher now as a spiritual teacher, my goal is never to reproduce myself, right? I'm not teaching to have many more me teachings. I'm teaching for someone to take my information, my knowledge, my wisdom, and expand upon it from the vision that they see. And that's what when we begin to do that, now we're going to get exponential principles, exponential practices, exponential understandings and navigating in the world that we need to be able to serve all of the broad scope and the little nuances at the same time, because everything has to be served. And that's what I see as a seed that's been planted this summer with all these different conferences and interconnections and so forth. And I just look forward to see, the like a nectarine. A nectarine is a cross between a peach and a plum. So I'm looking to see what kind of nectarines we create here as we begin to cross-pollinate with this teaching, this understanding, and this way of life.
Now I know why I don't like nectarines. Because I like plums, but I don't like peaches. Now I understand why I don't like nectarines. Thank you. See,
focus more on the plum and not the peach. They'll come right in the spot.
Okay.
I like it all. I like a bite of them all, to tell you the truth. So I like tarty things and sweet things and everything in between. Yeah, I think that is well said, because one of the things you just spoke to, Rev Brz, is that the way people hear a teaching or the teacher is going to be unique to them. And so it's never about us trying to be cookie cutter in somebody's image and likeness. We're here to be ourselves, to be our authentic self. That I think is the discovery. It's been my work. Who am I? Whose am I? And when you know that, you don't have to copy anybody else. You don't have to. And that's the idea. People that are learning from these teachings are getting something that helps them in their own life. They get to be in their own creativity and their own expanded awareness about how that lands for them and how they show up in the world with that. Again, that's what always excites me and inspires me, is because the rainbow, there's so many beautiful colors in the rainbow, and there's different, depending on where you look at the rainbow, you're going to see different colors and different shapes and that's what it's all about. It's about loving everybody, loving humanity enough and seeing a vision for us, a possibility for us as a species, that we hold that and allow everyone to be who they are and stay out of that, who they are. All I ever tell people is, don't ever follow me or anything I say, follow principle. This is a principle-based teaching. That's really my teacher, is the principle. That's nice. Over the teacher.
That's nice, because we know, and one thing I for those who've heard me, they'll continue to hear me say this: principle is the key. There's the principle of electricity, but there are many different ways to get electricity. When we look at solar, turbine, a hydro, and those nuclear, those yet to be discovered are demonstrated. But if they're all coming from the one principle, that there is a charge, there is an energy, there is this thing that happens when we do practice certain laws that make it happen. And that's what we're trying to get. We're trying to get people to understand the principle, knowing that no matter where you are, if you're in the desert, it might be pretty hard for you to get hydroelectricity. But if you switch over to solar, man, you finna blow the doors off the thing. And so that's what we want people to understand. That idea of principle and law, as Ernest says, love and law, because that's what that is. The principle is love. The principle is to provide for everything on the planet and beyond to be exactly what it was created to be and to be more of that. And when we understand that, then we have that principle. We can determine or figure out or stumble into, however it happens, the different laws that will perpetuate that idea of love and support for all things.
I totally agree.
Yeah, amen. Amen. Folks, this is New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. We're going to take a quick, very brief half moment here to say thank you to some folks that make this financially feasible and to make all of this work. But we're not done yet. We'll be back with final thoughts in about 40 seconds. Stay tuned. On behalf of everyone at New Thought Media Network, thank you for being a member of our virtual family. Your financial contributions help share the New Thought message with people from around the world. Please visit and contribute at www.ntmedia.org/donate. New Thought Media Network. Come be you. And please like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, peace and blessings. And we're back with New Thought Today on the New Thought Media Network. It's time for our final thoughts. I realize that, pretty much every week I make Elzia go first, so our guest can go second, and then that way I get the easy cleanup spot at the end. And I've also decided I'm going to do that again this week. So, Z, it's all on you. Final thoughts?
Yeah, final thoughts is I enjoyed this conversation every time we have it. It makes me go a little deeper. And I think the thing that's sticking out for me now is we have to be principled in our life. And if we need to go out and figure out what these universal principles are and read about them and play with them and understand them, as Rev Candice said, that is the charge for the week. Even for the month, I'll go out on the month. Let's go out and do research, if you will, on principles, on what are the universal principles that apply across all genres, and see how we can activate them and create them in our lives.
Beautiful. Thank you.
And then allow them to be at work in your life. Then allow for the demonstration.
Yes.
Learn about it, practice it, and then watch the demonstration and make sure that you write this down, that you have a record so that you can prove to yourself later, if you forget that, oh no, that really worked. I remember when I set the intention for that. I remember the principle that I studied it, and my eye was single on that, and then I watched it unfold, and now you have it later to remind you. And I think that's really important. That it's the principle in the practice, right? Mm-hmm. The principle in the practice, because that is always what's going to compel each of us forward in our life, no matter what. Everything else is just, like I said, kind of blowing in the wind. We want to make it work, and they do work. That's the good news. But when you find out how it works for you, right? Because it works for me, I can't make it work for you. You can make it work for you, and when you discover that, oh, the joy. Oh, the joy and the gratitude.
Yes. I love this, because this sounds like the talk that I did on Sunday this past week in a lot of ways. We've got to be radically authentic with the principles and keep our practices divine and keep our practices strong so that we are living demonstrations of these principles. So that people can look at our lives and there's nothing hidden in the background.
Right.
This is the way it happens, and the way and the practice of the truth. And I just love where this conversation has gone today as well. So Reverend Candice, thank you so much for being with us. I hope you can join us again sometime.
Thank you so much for having me. My joy. Honor.
Yes. All right, folks, this is New Thought Media Network. We are New Thought today. We're going to get out of here, let you get into the rest of your afternoon. Thanks for being with us. Please remember, we have Spanish language programming tonight at 7 p.m. on the New Thought Media Network, and then our normal prayer time at 8:15. On behalf of everyone here on the New Thought Media Network, we thank you. We love you. We look forward to seeing you again real soon. Until then, wishing you peace and richest blessings.